thin, bird-like hand, whispering nonsense about cosmic love and opening the body. Her breath was sour, her touch unsteady. Then Halden leaned closer, his beard brushing Daniel's cheek, his hand sliding across his chest. "Take it off," he whispered. "The clothes, the fear, shed it. We'll show you how good it feels." Daniel's stomach lurched. His vision stuttered, faces morphing into grotesque masks, the fire stretching into a column of twisting shapes. Halden's features warped, his grin splitting wider, his eyes glowing red in the blur of drug-fueled panic. Beside him, Tesco seemed to shriek like a crow, her glasses magnifying her eyes into bulging orbs. They pressed harder. Halden tried to shove a pill between Daniel's lips. Tesco's fingers clawed at his jacket, urging him to slip it off. Panic rose, sharp and electric, as he spat the pill into the dirt. "No," he shouted, or thought he shouted, his voice cracked and small against their laughter. The world tilted further. Marcus collapsed in the grass, whooping like a man possessed. Theo groaned in his sleep, oblivious. Brody's tent rustled faintly but offered no help. It was just Daniel now, Daniel against the couple. Halden's face loomed, monstrous in the firelight. "Stop fighting it," he hissed. "You'll thank us later." His free hand moved lower, groping, insistent. And then, like the forest itself had roared, a sound split the night. A furious bellow, deep and violent, from somewhere in the darkness beyond the trees. The bellow shattered the night like a gunshot. Daniel froze, half believing it was some beast crawling out of the moors to finish what the couple had started. His fogged mind scrambled for answers, monster, demon, anything but human. And then the shadows broke. Oliver came crashing through the trees like a force of nature, a massive branch clutched in both hands. His eyes burned with fury, his chest heaving as he charged straight into the clearing. He looked wild, feral, no trace of the easygoing athlete left, only raw, protective rage. "Get off him!" he roared. The branch swung through the air and smashed down on the couple's tent with a deafening crack, splintering poles and canvas alike. Sparks burst upward as the fire snapped in the blast of wind. Tesco shrieked and stumbled back, her glasses flashing in the glow, while Halden staggered to his feet, his beard wild, eyes wide with shock. For once, the old man looked small. Daniel collapsed to the ground, coughing, gasping for breath as Oliver planted himself between him and the couple. The branch whistled through the air again, missing Halden's head by inches and slamming into the dirt hard enough to send up a spray of earth. "Leave him alone," Oliver bellowed, his voice cracking with rage. "Leave us all the hell alone." Tesco grabbed at Halden's sleeve, her face twisted into something grotesque under the firelight. "We should go," she hissed, but Halden shook her off, his hands trembling. "This isn't what it looks like," he muttered, his words brittle and weak. "Don't you dare," Oliver spat, taking a step forward, the branch raised high. "I know what you are, I know what you've done." The words struck like a hammer. Daniel blinked, still reeling, as Oliver advanced. With every step, Halden shrank, dragging Tesco backward toward the tree line. Then Oliver dropped to one knee beside Daniel, pulling a can of Coke from his pack. "Drink," he ordered, pressing it to his lips. Daniel swallowed greedily, the sugary fizz burning down his throat but clearing the fog enough for him to focus. Oliver slapped his cheeks lightly, forcing his eyes open. "Stay with me, you're all right, he can't touch you anymore." Daniel clutched at him, trembling, while Oliver rose again, towering over the couple. The branch swayed menacingly in his grip. "You've got one chance," Oliver growled. "Take your junk, take your lies, and crawl back into whatever hole you came from. If I ever see you near us again." He swung the branch into the fire pit, scattering sparks and ash into the night. "I won't miss." For a long, tense moment, no one moved. The only sound was the crackle of the fire and Marcus, still giggling weakly from where he lay in the grass, whispering to unseen gnomes. Then Halden broke. He grabbed Tesco by the arm and stumbled backward, muttering curses under his breath. His eyes never left Oliver's, but there was no defiance left in them, only fear. They retreated step by step into the trees until the night swallowed them whole. Oliver stood motionless, branch still raised, until the last echo of their footsteps vanished. Then, slowly, he lowered the makeshift weapon and tossed it aside. His chest rose and fell like he'd run a marathon. Daniel pulled himself upright, still trembling, still tasting bile and smoke. "You," his voice cracked. "You saved me." Oliver's jaw clenched, his face shadowed. "I should have stopped him years ago." The weight in his words silenced Daniel. There would be time later for questions, for truths long buried. But for now, the only thing that mattered was that the couple was gone and Oliver had dragged them back from the brink. The clearing smelled of smoke, sweat, and fear. Their fire was nearly dead, their camp half ruined. Marcus lay muttering nonsense to the night sky, Theo stirred weakly in his sleep, and Brody's tent was silent as a grave. But Daniel was alive. And Halden, his old teacher, his nightmare made flesh, was finally gone, chased off by the one friend who had carried more scars than any of them knew. Dawn crept over the moors with a gray, heavy light. The fire was nothing but cold ash, and the clearing smelled of smoke and damp earth. One by one, the boys stirred, Theo rubbing his eyes blearily, Marcus groaning and clutching his head, Brody stumbling out of his tent like he'd slept through an earthquake. None of them seemed to fully remember what had happened in the night. But Daniel remembered. His stomach still churned, his lips still tasted of smoke and bile, and every shadow in the trees looked like it might conceal that bearded face. Oliver sat apart from the others, staring into the dying embers, his hands clenched on his knees. There was no branch in his grip now, but he carried the same tension, like he could spring up at any moment to fight again. Daniel broke the silence. "You knew him." Oliver didn't look up. For a long while he said nothing. Then his voice came low, gravelly, stripped bare. "Year 7, school trip, farm outside Leeds. He was one of the teachers." The others turned toward him slowly, expressions shifting from confusion to unease. Oliver's jaw tightened. Every night he'd walk into the showers, pretend it was an accident, make comments. Watch, his fists tightened on his knees until the knuckles turned white. "I told myself it was nothing, told myself it wasn't bad enough to tell anyone, but it was enough." The weight of his words settled over them like the fog. No one cracked a joke this time. Even Marcus, still half-drunk on last night's haze, only lowered his head. Oliver finally looked at Daniel, his eyes raw. "When I saw him yesterday, I knew. That's why I walked off into the woods. I needed to breathe before I lost it, and then I came back and..." He trailed off, shaking his head. "I should have hit him harder, should have finished it." Daniel swallowed hard, the memory of Halden's hands crawling across him still vivid. He thought of the pills, the tea, the words whispered in the dark. And he realized Oliver's fury hadn't been blind rage, it had been years of silence finally breaking loose. No one argued, no one told him he was wrong. They all understood. The truth was simple and horrifying. The man they once trusted, the teacher who'd vanished without explanation, had never stopped being a predator. And Oliver had been the only one brave enough to face him. They broke camp in silence that morning, the laughter and careless joy of the first days gone. The clearing felt poisoned now, its stillness heavy with what had almost happened. Daniel kept glancing at the tree line, half expecting the old man's shadow to emerge again, but it never did. On the drive back, no one spoke much. The music stayed off. Each of them carried their own thoughts, their own shame at how close they'd come to being swallowed whole by a predator who had once held authority over them. Later, Daniel would look back and realize something. Danger doesn't always wear a monster's face. Sometimes it wears the smile of a trusted teacher, the laugh of someone who seems harmless, the disguise of a kindly stranger. And when it finally shows its teeth, you're left questioning how you didn't see it sooner. But there was one truth he held onto, stronger than the fear. When the moment came, Oliver stood between him and the darkness. And sometimes, one friend's courage is enough to save them all.